What we're going to look at today are suckers and sprouts. Those are two terms that are used interchangeably. Sometimes there's some confusion about it. We're going to look at how we treat them, what we want to do about it, how there are different situations that we sometimes will leave certain sprouts and suckers for a particular reason. With this crabapple that we're looking at here, you can see that we have a lot of what we will call root suckers, so branches, canes coming out of the ground, and they're actually growing off of roots that are coming off of this tree. Then we'll also look at what we'll term water sprouts. So those are limbs, branches going straight up off of an existing branch, and where we will remove it and how we'll remove it. One of the things we have to remember with both of these situations is that they weaken the tree. There's a lot of energy going into these branches and leaves, maintaining them. They also aesthetically are not real pleasing. You'll many times, as you can see in this, we want to have a single stem tree. We want one stem here. We don't want a shrub in this situation. So that's why we want to remove these branches. When we do this work, sometimes the confusing part is, especially with the suckers, the root suckers, is how do we remove them? We're going to go down and we're going to remove them as close as we can. And sometimes, if you can see the actual root, and many times you can, we want to get right down on there with a lopper or your hand pruner and remove that sucker off of there. Some folks may recommend tearing and doing some other sort of work around that. At this stage, we'll just say, let's just cut those off of there. We don't want to do any more damage than we have to. In particular situations where you can actually find the root, and if it's one that gives you consistent problems and isn't too large, you can look at removing the actual root. And many times, in all cases, they're going to be surface roots, so it should be fairly easy to remove that. When we're looking at the water sprouts, again, we want to stand back, think about how we're pruning the tree, and look at the sprouts in there and how we want to try to remove that and again maintain the aesthetic appearance of the tree that we're working on. Here we are at the quaking aspen section of our Maxwell Arboretum, and you can see here that we're allowing this to form a colony, and this is what quaking aspen do. The colony is actually formed from rooted suckers off the original trees that were planted, and they slowly spread, and that's what we want. We want this appearance, and it's a nice thing to have, and it's something, if you wanted to plant quaking aspen in your yard, it would do something like this over a period of years. Other plants like chokecherry, American plum, and there's many others that will naturally form colonies, which is one of the advantages of those plants, and this is a situation where we don't want to remove the suckers, the coming off of the roots. Now we do, and I will say we leave some. We'll kind of keep it at a level that we want, the number of stems here, so that's one thing to consider, is that we do take a few. Now many times the question is, why are we getting suckers off of a tree or a big shrub that's maybe suckering? Nannyberry viburnum is one that will have a tendency to do that as well. And one of the things that causes it, many times it's an injury of some sort. So weather, mechanical, something like that has caused an injury to the tree, and this is a response to that injury to help kind of keep the tree going. Is they produce a lot of stems, a lot of those suckers or water sprouts, either one, to kind of get it through that period. And so many times that's why you'll see that. Heavy pruning in the spring in certain species will cause a lot of heavy suckering. So one of the things I recommend with crab apples, that if you're just lightly pruning it, you shouldn't worry about it. But if for some reason you need to do a little bit heavier pruning, we might want to wait till 4th of July, something like that, to do that, when the tree is a little lower in energy and ideally will produce less suckers. What we're looking at here are, again, more root suckers, and this is a little different situation. We had a Kentucky coffee tree that died. We had to remove the tree, so we took the tree down, ground out the stump like you would hire an arborist to do. And now here, over a year later, we're starting to see root suckers come up out of the grass. Many folks, again, have called in, written in on Backyard Farmer saying, what do we do in situations like this? This is one of these situations where you just continue to mow these off. Over time, these should decrease. If it becomes a real serious problem, you could apply a broadleaf herbicide over these at the right time of year to help take care of it and reduce it. But it may be something that you will see over time. Over the next 2 to 3 years, we'll probably see the occasional sprout come up here. And in unusual situations, it may be years later. There's places on campus I've removed trees 10 years ago, and every once in a while, here comes a sprout, a sucker, a root sucker coming out of the ground from an old root that's still in there, that still has some energy in it.